Guys, don't fret. I'm back. Oh, amazing, isn't it? Let's go to this screen since this is the commentating one. Nope, nope, nope. Didn't want to hit that button. Here we go. Right back into it. For Mud Turtles Week 6 game. Now, I was told in advance that there is a game on here for Week 6 that lasted about an hour, and there was a lot of controversy over it. So I'm very interested in going into that and seeing what that game is. Who's Frowny Face? Someone's just a little sad person. But we're using Benchy, which is pretty interesting. I do like to see what Benchy has to offer. Going into the Bone Reaper. Mud Turtle once again starting off with Klaus Clackerson again. No Umbron Marauder into Living Cloud turn, unfortunately. I think Mud Turtle once again is just trying to rebuild resources here as well. Just before we get too far, there is a second did TS post his games? Now that I'm finding that TS is the other person in this. He did, and I feel bad because now... Oh, where is it? There we go. We actually get to see his game. Or his hand. So... if I can go into, let's say right about there. So we laid Graveyard, we all knew that. Now he's laying Shambler. All right, I think I got it timed up. Perfect. Mud Turtle going in to lay the Thunder Slug here. Getting a very good opportunity to remove that Bone Reaper. The Graveyard and the Shambler is still going to come down, but it looks like TS does have a Shadow Puppet in hand, which could be a very strong counterplay because he has more Dread buffs in hand with that Bone Reaper, and keeping that Graveyard alive is very strong for him. So Shadow Puppet right now is probably the best, because I think we don't see a whole lot of buffs within this Claus Clackerson deck from Mud Turtle. So removing the Thunder Slug with a Shadow Puppet is A-okay. His dirty hand... Mud Turtle, how dare you say a hand is dirty when you look at yours. So Mud Turtle still not having a whole lot of options. The Umbran Informants are now essentially dead cards in this very large hand size with no cards in hand. TS, we're going to go ahead and draw a few cards. As you can see, his hand is now empty. Picking up another Shadow Puppet and another Bone Reaper. That Bone Reaper with Graveyard is going to see some big plays. But TS playing with a very death-heavy deck is very interesting, very cool. Delivery Crab comes down for 3 healing from Mud Turtle after doing an Umbran to hit for 6. Very nice plays by Mud Turtle going into TS's turn. Probably, unless he lays a Bone Reaper here, I would say just pass and draw. Because there isn't a whole lot of other plays he wants to do. But it looks like we are going to see the Bone Reaper come down into a pass draw. Keeping our hand size very minuscule, probably knowing that Mud Turtle's very card draws are based off your opponent's hand size most of the time. So keeping your hand low makes a lot of those cards dead draws. Sacred Mausoleum is an awesome card to lay here. Probably, I don't know if it will be this turn you'd want to lay it or next turn. But it looks like we are going to go ahead and lay this turn. I'm not entirely... What is Benchy's ability? Because it does have to do with your Dread buffs on board. Does it have to do, like, it increases the damage by 1 if you have 3? Is that what it is? Maybe that's why he's trying to keep his board so high. I don't play Benchy a whole lot, so I'm trying to remember what his... I want a 3 death buffs and play at all times. Oh, okay. Mud Turtle going with a Creeble Warcrier, and I did not see the other card. I went over to chat and read chat. So getting that 10-point swing off the Bone Reapers is huge for Benchy. Unfortunately, picking up some nice death cards, but no death buffs. But we do have that Sacred Mausoleum in play, which is huge to keep our dread buffs in play. Oh, it's reduced damage by attacks if you have 3 death buffs in play. That's very nice. So yes, against this very attack-heavy deck, this ability to have 3 death buffs on board against heavy aggro is insanely powerful. It was a Marauder. Okay, good to know. Sacred Mausoleum going to heal for 3, put the Bone Reaper back into play. Pass draw. Second Graveyard is huge to see off of that, as we're now getting just constant death buffs in play at all times. Mud sort of going for what possibly is maybe just a little more aggro. He is sitting at pretty low health, but it looks like we are going to pass draw, look for something that can kind of clear the board a little bit more. We might be looking for a Cold Snap or a Crushing Rapids. We do pick up the Marauder, which is a defend card. A really nice swing turn there as well. As we thought, we are going to see the second Graveyard come down. And a Soul Thief, which is very powerful with these graveyards. 10-point swing with that. We're going to see a Bone Reaper come down for a 12-point swing next turn as it rotates into the corner. Mud Turtle not seeing any way out of this. We are going to put down the Marauder for 6 damage. Try to get as much as we can through. That Bone Reaper is going to heal for a massive amount next turn. As it is now 2S's turn, we're going to heal for 6 and deal 6 damage with both of those graveyards on board. Mud Turtle really looking for a Cold Snap or Crushing Rapids. 19 cards in deck, as we just saw. He's looking to see how much he has left. Another Sacred Mausoleum is a great pickup there for Benchy. Dustfiend is going to come in for 3 damage because of the Dread. We could see... We're going to look for an Umbron Barkeep to potentially draw 2 cards. Just healing up as much as we can. Does not get the additional card draw because he was not able to dump his hand. But the healing, I believe, is what we were hoping for. And the defendability to trigger off of it to get that extra damage coming through. However, we could see Sacred Mausoleum being triggered to put, once again, for 4 healing as well, that Bone Reaper back into play. And a pass draw. Or a Soul Thief. Soul Thief, not a bad card to play here either. Says, yep, it's over. I mean, we do have the damage in hand. So we're sitting at 5 on Mud Turtle's end. Mud Turtle going up, it's 32. Not having the buff removal that it needs. That Benchy preventing attack damage is very powerful. Looks like we are going to overload into discarding Storm Strike for initial 5 damage for 13. We can Umbron Informant next turn, but that 5 health is really, really going to hurt unless we pick up a Thunder Slug right now. We picked up a Vitalizing Frog. I don't think that's enough to keep us alive. Luckily, we do see over here on TS there is no buff removal. There's no other attack cards. We are going to put... Oh, Necrophant moves those Soul Thieves back into the hand. Removes the Devour Soul. Soul Thief, once again, hitting for 4 damage, healing for 6. Very powerful with the whole death buffs in play. As Mud Turtle is now at 1. Knowing his opponent has the Soul Thief, the Bone Reaper in hand, healing for 6. That will do it. Great game by Benchy. He had an amazing draw. Picked up the Shadow Puppets over the Thunder Slugs when he needed them. Had both graveyards. Picked up the Mausoleums along with the death buffs, or dread buffs, to put them into play at the exact perfect times. As Mud Turtle said, dirty draws. Dirty draws by TS, but they all came at the right time for him. Great games by both players. I will actually just let this go through because it doesn't look like there's any editing. So it's also very ironic that both videos are exactly 17 minutes and 58 seconds. Very ironic. So Mud Turtle is going to play his good Adriac deck. And over to TS playing... Oh, Lord. No, it's not Cassini. Cellini. There we go. Should have Stormbolt Striker and picked up Rapids. Storm Strike. Yeah, I mean, looking for a buff removal at that point to get rid of those graveyards, those things were huge increases to TS. As we see, it looks like TS is playing a very heavy Chimchu deck, which is not uncommon as Chimchus are very strong. But we do see a Vicious Scalefang come down. We got the Wild Spirits in hand, which could be amazing to see. I did believe Mud Turtle actually shared his deck list with me on this one, and it is a very interesting and fun deck list to see. Chimchu Militant is going to come down. We could just see a pass draw, or we are going to see a Twilight Oracle to heal and draw. Once again, this seems like a very aggressive style for the Astral deck as well, so we're just going to keep hammering our damage away. Adriac not having a whole lot of healing, unless we are playing very heavy on the death side, which doesn't look like we are. So maybe just going heavy on attack damage is TS's game plan here, while Mud Turtle is still searching for ways to play off Adriac's ability. With the Chimchu Infiltrator, bringing that Chimchu Militant back, going for another 5 damage, just really hitting home for all that damage output. Next turn, we might even see a Dusk Feeder heal for 7. Infiltrator, bring back that Militant to our hand. Just getting the most out of all of our attacks is what's really Cellini's play style right here. Putting that Shadow Form down, lowering all of the attack damage is huge. Mud Turtle survivability just went way up right now, and it looks like TS might just take a few turns to rekindle its resources and draw some cards. Which is exactly what he's doing. He does pick up the Pathfinder, however. Which I believe Mud Turtle might be thinking about Spirit Barraging and overextending a little bit, but he is going to play this safe, not go too heavy into getting countered by a Pathfinder. Smart move on his part. TS is just going to pass by this time, let that Shadow Form rotate out. No need to feed anything into it. Very good playing right there. Both players just letting their boards kind of settle, rebuild their hands. We are going to see a Spirit Barrage come down from Mud Turtle. We could see that Umbron Thief being discarded, which gives us a nice Moonlight Burrower turn. And it looks like that's what's going to happen. Umbron Thief is going to go away, opening Moonlight Burrower into a free action, opening that Pathfinder into removing 2 of those buffs, still getting that additional action. TS's 4 cards. Lush Lost Trader, Blast Bot, Pathfinder, and a Gravity Bubble were the 4 cards. If you didn't see that, obviously it's on my screen. But we are going to pick up that Pathfinder from the Moonlight Burrower, play that Pathfinder into a Chimchu Militant right away. We have now removed 2 combo buffs from Mud Turtle. Now be a time to just keep going heavy on the damage. Mud Turtle probably as well going to start playing a lot of damaging buffs out here to just keep the threat on TS. TS having that Wandering Starformer in hand to deal 4 damage and draw a card. Picking up a Lush Lost Trader to get a Chimchu on the top of his deck could be fine. We could be looking for a Militant. Looks like we are going to put that Blacksmith on top, though. I forgot that he is running Explosive for the Blast Bots. So getting his Explosive turret into play next turn opens his entire deck up. We're not waiting for anything else. Mantix Hatchling comes in. We could see another animal buff come down. Vicious Scalefang just trying to get as much damage as we can in. Mud Turtle is sitting at 18, knowing that we're going against a very aggressive style deck. That Shrine of Death healing for 4 could be very strong if the buffs stay on board. Looks like we are going to see a Pathfinder removing 2 of those buffs. Very powerful from Mud Turtle. And TS just passing, drawing, getting that Blacksmith into his hand. Mud Turtle may be waiting on Okay, looks like we are going to get some good old animal buffs back into our deck. We have not seen any death cards in our discard pile yet, nor have we been allowed to have any of our animal buffs expire. Odrak's ability is in Mud Turtle's deck. Odrak's ability is not something that you push forward or hammer on. I believe this is the deck that uses the crystal to then bring back Restoring Echoes, to bring back a lot of major strong cards. As we're seeing both players kind of just pass draw, bite out their turns, kind of rekindle their hand size, rebuild their resources as well. We do pick up a Wild Spirit. You had 2 combos. They weren't allowed to expire though. Like nothing on your side, Mud Turtle, has been allowed to expire. Everything has been removed. So getting anything for Odrak's ability has kind of been a little detrimental as we see spamming the pass draw. There's nothing Mud Turtle really wants to do. Picks up an Umbron Barkeep though, which is really nice to see. Mossfoot Shimmer Rider with the Shrine of Death is a very good turn as well. We could see a nice spike turn for 5 damage into 5 healing. Looks like we are going to see a Sunstrike. TS now feels it's time to just really start hitting home on the damage. We have a lot of resources in hand to just push through. Just try not to let Mud Turtle heal back up. Dusk Feedering for 7. Once again, putting him on the defensive. Got a nice health total. Picks up a Crushing Charger. I like the tech choices. I'm not sure against Mud Turtle's deck it's going to be that viable. But then again, with Selene being able to just discard any card right now, very good. Jovi, good morning to you. We are going to see the Mossfoot come down. Barkeeper is a dead card. So is Shadow Puppet in a sense. We could just see... We are going to see the Wild Spirit, which will rotate these out, put the Mossfoot Shimmer Rider going forward, and then Shrine of Death from the free action. Very nice turn synergies from Mud Turtle there. Really lowering his hand size down too to open up that Barkeep for next turn. And if the Shimmer Rider does not get removed, which it doesn't look like it is, we do get a second death card under Odriak. Looks like we are discarding the Crushing Charger. Picks up some very powerful cards in Blastbot and Black Hole. Chimchu Infiltrator is just going to bring back a Chimchu Militant. Picking up that Shadow Form. Maybe this is not the deck that has Crystal in it. Maybe this is a different Odriak deck that doesn't run Restoring the Echoes. Because he is putting a lot of really strong combo buffs under, when he could be putting some on other death cards like that Shrine of Death. Having that Umbron Patron in there to be a death card that draws a card, very nice choices. Chimchu Militant attacking for 5. Yeah, I think as Infiltrator, even if you just keep it kind of how it is, but it only returns Chimchu cards, you're still going to see it return Chimchu Militant all the time. Like, it's one of those cards that, with Graveyard Recursion, hopefully with a lot of these changes, we do see some sort of variance in how the decks are being played. The Umbron Patron does pick up a Tentacle. A second Tentacle as well. TS, however, having just a bunch of damage in hand. I believe we're going to see the Astral Priest possibly next turn. Or this turn, just really get the damage in as soon as we can. Oh, it's only solar action cards. It got changed? Interesting. Mud Turtle having to pass, and with the Blast Spot in hand, that is going to be game 2. Great games by both people. Very fun and interesting decks. But it did look like that Odriak could not stand up to the ultimate aggression that was going on by TS. So great games there. Oh, it wasn't changed in the app, but it was revealed? Okay. Yeah, some of those draws, the timing on them just, it wasn't what you were looking for. Yeah, I mean, well, Pathfinder needs burn. Any buff removal needs burn. The changes to buff removal, I am super happy about. And like I said, a lot of people are happy that this is getting burned. I'm just more happy about their adding the new keyword restricted, as I've said several times, because it hopefully, from the creative side, opens up new avenues for different cards to be made. That's what I'm excited about. That's what I'm super excited about. So as we go back in here, looks like access deny is the next one on the docket. And I think he plays egg rolls, which does not have his own videos. And if I'm not mistaken, is this... It's a 54-minute video. Is this the video that I should be concerned about? It revolves around Wild Spirit rotating out the animal buffs. Okay. I mean, Wild Spirit is not a card that really has seen a lot of plays, so it's really cool that you're trying to get that into a deck. I really like. I think it does have a nice home. It's just it's a utility card, and it matters how much the utility gets out of this. It's his match too. Okay. Oh boy, be back in an hour. You don't want to watch this one? Maybe you guys already did. I don't know. Okay, so as we see, we have Egg Rolls probably playing a very aggressive style Lugnut deck against Magrock, which has seen a few different play styles, but mostly just using his Magrock ability down at the late levels with really good buff synergies to have nice swing turns. Looks like we're getting that Skyrider in. Pass draw. Lugnut, once again, really relying on its items to be at full use here. So we are probably just going to hold off until we can do anything. Access the Night, just pass drawing. Trying to get as many strong buffs out as play as possible. We do have an Unruly Mob, which is really going to slow down his attack aggression. We have Steadfast Beacons, we have Inertia Sentinels, we have a lot of things here that can just stick on the board and be constant earth buffs. Trying to think, it's Matt. I posted his third game in a different video. You can fast forward some turns maybe in second game. Axis said he based this deck off one I posted? Really? The Magrock one off of one I posted? Because my Magrock I posted off of the basic Magrock deck. So it wasn't even mine. I probably just shared it more commonly. Because it does look like... Oh, my Road 202 Magrock! Oh! Oh! Yeah, that seems very stally. I don't even think that tried to work. I based it off an idea. I love this, guys. I'm just coming up with these random ideas, and you guys are taking them and making your own. So That's awesome. I know Rocket Star took my Bug Rider idea and brought it to fruition. Then TS improved it with Starhorn more. This is really cool seeing some ideas where I'm like, I wonder if this works, and then you guys take it and run with it. It's really cool. I'm actually excited for this game now, more than I was beforehand. So we are going to see the Hammer Down of Forces come into play. I didn't see the Road 202. That's why I was like, I wonder what some of this is for. But the Inertia or Territorial Mud Turtle does now make more sense that I'm seeing that. It's not deck out stall, though. Well, no, it wasn't meant to be. It was meant to see if we can get Road 202 to work. But in order to get it to work, you have to draw it, which means you have to delay and hope you live long enough. And the Territorial Mud Turtle being a location, Road 202, it just worked out. It worked out really well. It's a defensive deck that hits you all of a sudden, which is how a lot of these decks are probably going to be played. And there's a Reckless Spirit, removing buffs from Cannoneer Lugnut, getting rid of that other unruly mob, Chrono Moth, Lugnut just being very offensive, very aggressive all the time. The Territorial Mud Turtle, I should. He deals with locations, and with you and your Howlock deck, man, that should be a name change. Putting that beacon out, we're getting a Sulfuric Demise. What with Eggroll's playing a lot of buff removal here in his deck, this build could have a lot of problems. Chronomoth. Looks like we are going to take some damage, but he's going to draw a card, get that nice damage in as well. Axis and I has got to be starting to look for that Road 202. Putting Venom Veins in is going to be very nice for Magrock's ability now, before it was before, to get the nice healing in every time he gets attacked. Just keep him surviving as long as possible. However, Eggroll's could just have an Overwhelming Blast, which actually is only going to do 10 because that beacon out there as well. Eggroll's drawing because of his Soul Ring. The Salvager is going to come down. Five damage, keeping Magrock alive with the Venom Veins and the Beacon. Hammered on Enforcer also coming down. Once again, healing Magrock all the way back up to 10. But Enforcer removing those buffs. We could see a Mountain Fort. We could see a Boulder Feast. There's a lot of things right now that Axis and I could do to stay alive against this aggro onslaught. The Mountain Fort is going to be ticked away very quickly. Still making some choices here. Very difficult. Obviously, a lot of aggression from Eggroll's is going to be coming soon, so we need to figure out how we're going to prevent it. Boulder Feast is the option he's choosing to go with. Probably the better one, knowing that Eggroll's ability is going to destroy a lot of the Mountain Forts. When we pick up a Hexer. Now, it is a Kriebel card to go under Road 202. Eggroll's decides to heal. Is he going to be any more aggressive on his side, or is he just going to pass draw? Looks like we're going to Skyrider for 4. Sulfuric Demise is going to come down. preventing any combo from bursting him out. But that 2 damage at the beginning of the turn for healing with Magrock's ability is most likely going to be what's really strong here. Picking up a second Shadow Puppet, obviously going against someone who's a buffless aggro style deck, makes those Shadow Puppets not that strong in this matchup. Eggroll's now realizing that Magrock is going to be healing if he drops below 12 with that Sulfuric Demise. Very strong, very synergistic combo with him. And to see a third Hammer Down Enforcer going to hit play. Access giving the game must know that there's a lot of things that he can't do now. He's blown a lot of buff removal in his deck, so keeping a lot of these more damage or more defensive buffs on board as well. Let's see if Access and I can do anything to pull out of this. Conclave Spy could be really powerful as well. Being able to bring back Sulfuric Demise. It's the top action card, right? Or it's the top card? Conclave Spy. It's a powerful card. Looks like Eggroll's just going to pass draw here. Mountain Fort is doing a lot of prevention there. Conclave Spy going to be put out. It is the top action card. Thank you, TS. We're picking up an Assassin's Guild, which is really going to help with our card draw as well. Next turn, we could actually put down an Inertia Sentinel into Assassin's Guild and still get some card draw going to really just kind of stabilize into this deck. Salvager is going to prevent quite a lot of damage. But as I said before, that Mountain Fort taking away with that Lugnut ability, Mountain Forts are not as viable in a deck against someone like this because they are clunky corners. So we are going to see the Sentinel come down and the Assassin's Guild getting us 2 actions for 2 more card draws while being a little more defensive as well. Getting another Steadfast Beacon is huge here, as it is, once again, that ping damage from Magrock to use with his hero ability to really stabilize in this matchup. But it all depends on whether or not Eggroll's has the damage output right here, right now, to kill Access. And it looks like we're going to Overwhelming Blast. Getting that lethal in. Very close, almost able to stabilize with this Magrock deck. And I'll fast forward a little bit as we're going into game 2. Eggroll's with Party Planner Nishi and Access Deny sticking with his Magrock Road 202 build. Getting Road 202 on the first draw, huge for this deck. Access wondering if it's worth it to put Road 202 out now. Decides to play the Unruly Mob, play defensive right now, and then pass draw. Maybe he's trying to bait out a Thunder Slug or buff removal at some point so that Road 202 does not get destroyed. Picking up that Territorial Mudfoot, not Mud Turtle unfortunately, is good for the counteract into Road 202. But we could just see a few pass draw turns here. Eggroll's with a Party Planner Nishi deck. I'm not sure what style of deck this usually is. We could see just a mid-range Storm deck. With him only being able to run, I believe Party Planner Nishi is 4 combos in your deck, right? My guess is it would not be a much combo-centered style of Storm deck. It could be something else. Still just going to pass draw as well. Oh, it's one more. I'm sorry. I thought this was one. Okay, so it is more. So it could be a very combo-centered deck. I knew it had something to do with combos. Looks like we are just going to Assassin's Guild, pass draw, get as much stuff in hand as we can. Still not going full onto the Road 202 plan. Leaf Knight is 4 combos. As we see the portable turret come into play, So this does look like a more aggressive style deck, as Superior Explosive is going to open up a lot of avenues for damage output. And the Vortex Charger is going to come down looking for a combo wherever we can. Putting a Conclave Spy down could be nice here. Still just pass drawing, waiting our time, trying to bait out some buff removal before Road 202 comes down. Obviously, it is a location buff, so Blast Spot is now a threat as well. Eggro's deciding to pass draw, not wanting to overwhelm. Obviously, with that, the Unruly Mob out in play, preventing double attacks, we might be looking for a buff removal from that. Shady Recruiter's in a Road 202 deck. Not bad, right? So we are holding on to that Shadow Puppet. We might see it as we don't want to remove that, as it is just going to get him a combo. We might want to use it for more of a Shadow, or not a Shadow Puppet, a Thunder Slug, or a more combo buff oriented buff to get our value out of the Shadow Puppet right now. Both players just pass drawing, biding their time, it looks like. Are we going to put a beacon down? Be a little more defensive as well. Try and really build up defense. Trying to give our opponent a reason to Thunder Slug so our Shadow Puppet can get that as well. Getting a second Road 202 here with Inertia Sentinel. Once again, very defensive style hand. We're going to look for a combo with Egg Rolls. We're going to pick up a Murky Waters. Very powerful card as we are early in the game, still above 20 health. Egg Rolls decides to go with the Murky Waters. 12 damage to access, putting him at 15. Not a whole lot of pressure. Vitalizing Frog and Bevelfish not really needed. He probably has multiples in his hand at this point too. Both players' hand size are very large. Inertia Sentinel coming down. Now that we are at 15 or less health, that is now online. Great buff to have. We are seeing a very defensive style from Axis 9. Not a whole lot of healing. Not a lot of Boulder Fist being drawn. Necro Juggling is micro healing as well. But we are just playing very defensive, trying to bide out as much buff removal as we can before we try and do a Road 202 turn. Because remember, Road 202, getting your creeper cards under that and then having being removed is detrimental to how many cards are being removed for one buff removal. And the Barkeep is going to be played, trying to draw cards. Looks like Egg Rolls is once again trying to just draw for something. Access is at 15, but only being able to attack one time in a turn due to that Unruly Mob is difficult to do. We could see a Steadfast Beacon hit the board as well. Just a lot of defense that Axis is putting on right now. Still just going to pass draw. Sulfuric Demise could help. We are seeing a lot of combos being played from Egg Rolls. So a lot of that being prevented from the Sulfuric Demise is combo attacks. Storm Strike is going to come in for 9. We are now at 6 damage. Choosing Crushing Rapids. Axis now looking for something. Possibly a Sulfuric Demise or a Venom Veins, getting that extra ping damage whenever you get attacked to heal yourself back up for 2. And the Unruly Mob is going to heal him as well. There's a lot of things here that we can do to make sure we stabilize at this point if our opponent tries another combo. So if we do it Crushing Rapids tier, our opponent will heal us for 4 and then remove a lot of our buffs, but we do have such a large hand size that any buff he removes we'll be able to almost play right down instantly. We have spare Unruly Mobs, we have spare Inertia Sentinels, we have Steadfast Beacons in our hand. This is the part where Magrock becomes very difficult to deal with when all of the ping damages is going to heal him back up. I guess Crushing Rapids is a defend, so it is not going to heal him as much. That was my fault. But we are going to see another Unruly Mob probably hit the board, even a Steadfast Beacon here. Assassin's Guild allowing Steadfast Beacon to come into play. Is it time to Road 202, or are we using that third action to draw? I would imagine we have not baited out enough buff removal yet for Axis that I feel comfortable doing that. Maybe we Necro Dreadling, try and get anything back from our discard pile that we might need. There were a lot of really good defensive buffs that just got killed. I think we are just going to pass. Repicks up the Sulfuric Demise. We are going to take 2 from the buff. Go down to 7. But we do have 2 sources of ping damage if we get attacked. So Eggrols needs to do something huge here for a big swing damage. A lot of thinking. Thinking is fine. Thinking is very fine. Obviously, these are very... well, Magrock, especially this style deck, is a very long game to play. Looks like Eggrols just past drawing right now. We could see a Sulfuric Demise hit the board. A lot of things thinking here that we could do. Laying a second Unruly Mob. Second Steadfast Beacon to get our card draw in as well. That's not a bad play at all. But Necro Dreadling to be able to heal and bring back some of these cards. Probably not the Unruly Mob, as you're able to bring that back with the Epic Banquet. I probably would have brought back a Assassin's Guild and left the Unruly Mob in the discard pile for now. But now Eggrols sitting in front of a very large wall with Magrock's ping heal abilities is going to be very difficult to get through. We do have a Vortex Puddler. Is it worth Shadow Pupping? He's looking at that, wondering if it's plausible. Probably still wanted to save it for those Thunder Slugs as well. We have not seen any Blast Spots come down and remove any of these beacons or anything. So I'm wondering if Eggrols is even running a Blast Spot in his explosive style. We did pick up a Sentinel. Both players just pass drawing, looking for answers with this very, very difficult to deal with board state. Sulfuric Demise could be a buff to put down now, hoping to just bait out a Thunder Slug at this point. Picking up our third beacon. We could also see a Cold Snap or a Crushing Rapids come down as well. Or not Crushing Rapids, because we saw that before. Probably just a Cold Snap, if anything. Eggroll's still thinking, wondering what's the best solution he can do here. He knows that Axis has not played a Shadow Puppet yet either. So putting a Thunder Slug, he's only going to get one buff removal out of it. Knowing that Axis's hand size probably has the buff removal in hand as well. We are just going to Stormwall. So no attacks can be done. Sulfuric Demise dealing 2, healing 2. We could just Boulder Feast here, which might be the best option, as we are going to take 5 next turn. Mind you, any attack against us is being reduced by 1 and will heal us for 4 with our board state. Going up to 13 now, making Magrak's ability not usable. But once again, we have a very nice defensive board state. We picked up Obfuscation, but nothing in order to play it with. So going down to 8, if we play a water card, we get to restart that Volter, which might just be the case here. Right now, it looks like the only surefire way to get this damage through is from the buffs on board, as they do not block anything that Axis Denies board has to do. Bubblefish is going to come down, preventing any damage, which means Magrak's ability is no longer going to work, and the Thunder Slug is going to hit the board. Sulfuric Demise is now gone. Shadow Puppet is most likely going to come down. If I were him, I might just go ahead and Shadow Puppet the Bubblefish and the Thunder Slug, because with that Bubblefish up, all of the ping damage will be negated, means that Magrak will not heal. So that Bubblefish is actually more detrimental than that Stormwall is. It's just bad timing that Stormwall came in now. If we could have waited maybe one turn, I feel like Eggroll's could have come back from this. Okay, am I back? Okay, thank you, Rocketstar. Yeah, our wall of defense is just, it's huge and detrimental right now to see that whatever Thunderslug decides to choose and get rid of, we have it back in our hand. We have a Steadfast Beacon, we have an Unruly Mob. That Inertia Sentinel putting down, just making it so that we have more defense-wise. So we do have a third Steadfast Beacon to put down. We did have 2 locations being removed, which means that Territorial Mudfoot is now online. So we might actually decide to lay that over the Steadfast Beacon. I don't know. Maybe not at this point. dealing 5 damage is not that good against someone who's at 35. We may just Steadfast Beacon, save our Creebles for the Road 202. And it looks like that might be what's going through his head right now. Is it really worth it with someone who's at 35? Steadfast Beacon is going to come down. We are going to pass draw here. Picking up a Mountain Fort. Egg Rolls is so close to clinching this game. It's just access denies wall that he has put up in combination with Magrock's ability is a fortress that is very difficult to get behind or get out of. As we are going to put down a Mountain Fort, it looks like. Pass drawing, looking for something to do here. Still baiting out a lot of buff removal. Bubblefish is going to come down. Like I said, with that Bubblefish down, that is preventing the ping damage from getting through, making Magrock's ability negligible at this point in time. Now could be the time when Egg Rolls is going to decide to start hitting home with a lot of attacks. Maybe he's got an attack combo that could finish this off. At this point, I think just pass drawing is fine. There's nothing he really wants to overextend into unless he decides it's time for Road 202. But then again, only one Thunder Slug has been used. The damage from that Bubblefish would negate a lot of it. I think it's just time to, unfortunately, keep just staying alive until you've used up your opponent's resources. We are going to burn a card. I'm sure he was hoping to at least tick that Mountain Fort away, but all of the damage prevention on the board did nothing. Looks like we are going to Shadow Puppet those two away, not worrying about whether or not a second Thunder Slug comes down. Maybe not. Maybe we're just letting those things slide. I think we are. I think we're going to pass draw here. Looks like there's a lot of debate. People are saying that Magrock's ability is to only trigger on his turn. Possibly. It is just simply allowing for a lot of defensive plays, yes. However, I think that yeah, his playstyle isn't going to be changed all that much. It's just how much healing he actually can get will be changed. But that would mean that the game entirely is going to stay the same, and it's not. A lot of the things that are triggering from his ping damage are attacks, and if we are going to a more buff-heavy game, a lot of those buffs that ping on your opponent's turn will not matter that much. Because, I mean, if you look at the board right now, Steadfast Beacon and Unruly Mob only trigger from attacks. So if all your damage is coming from buffs, those buffs do nothing. I think lowering it to 8 would kill the card. It would make the ability nothing. 10 is fine. 10 is fine. Healing for 3 once a turn is fine. It all depends on... I mean, there's a lot of other cards we're going to be adding to the game, too. So we have to keep that in mind, where we don't want to completely destroy Magrock as a mythical hero to make him just unviable in playing. We just want to make sure there's other decks out there that are good or are bad against him. I will admit his card pool that he has access to is very heavy in the towards of playing defensive. But with a lot of these card changes, that could change. That very drastically could change. Inertia Sentinel could be something entirely different now. Steadfast Beacon could be something entirely different now. Rylox wasn't destroyed. It's just the way he is played needs to be changed. Yeah, exactly. Looks like we are going to see the Cold Snap killing the Road 202. I wouldn't say they're unplayable. So we are going to leave the Road 202 up. Steadfast Beacon is going to stay. Now might be the turn for Obfuscation to come down, and we're going to start seeing Road 202 really start taking off here, as it was not removed. See, you listed all the cards as they are now. We have almost 500 cards, or 450 plus being changed, and another like 130, 140 being added. I really wouldn't look at anything right now as being like, you killed this card, because it's like, well, no. All of the cards are changing. The entire game is changing. So it's really hard to evaluate what the card used to be to what it is now. Because it's like, hey, it changed a card in Hearthstone, and you're like, oh, you changed it, it's nerfing. It's like, well, we're not changing it. It's literally being taken to Magic the Gathering. Like, it's almost an entirely different game that we're playing now. So trying to compare the older version card to the newer version card and saying it's dumb, it got destroyed, is like saying that changing a card in Hearthstone means that it's no longer viable in Magic the Gathering. It's like, well, it wasn't even meant to be. Like, it's the whole game is changing. So it's really hard to evaluate what cards are being destroyed and which cards are being nerfed or improved upon, because so much is changing that you have to look at it as a whole. Yeah. Because like you're saying, Magrock's ability is like, oh, it's the dead card now. And it's like, okay, it's a dead card now. With 600 plus new cards essentially being added to the game, and the entire game being uprooted and changed. Not talking about currently. Yeah, currently, I mean, there's a lot of dead heroes. Yeah. But that's because the card pool is not as sporadic to make a variety of decks viable. Yeah, right now those heroes they're not good. They have nice card pool access. Some of them do. Um, but yeah, until the card pools change, it's going to be difficult to find them as viable. Yeah. So you're referring to? I thought you were talking about like these changes are killing these cards, and I'm like, we don't know that. We don't know if these changes are killing the cards. They could be improving them. Now we see egg rolls just maintaining a very strong board state. That bubblefish coming down. We do have a shadow puppet, which is huge here. I agree. TS, the new Asavak really looks awesome. Carnage doesn't have a good card pool. I think the Carnage it has an okay one, but it's not meant to be specific because his ability is literally get an item. So his card pool shouldn't be what you look at for his hero. You should be like, what other item can I add to make his card pool better? Yeah. Well, I mean, Spirit Tap is just bad. His Ghostly Grasp, I think, is what it's called. Really makes it want to play a discard variant. Um, yeah, it's just he's one that like you look at his ability and realize that he is an item one. Um, so you want to play a fourth element. Me changing it to 8 in the current game. Yeah, I could see that. Dropping it to 8. If you didn't change it where it only healed once and it was just consecutively, then changing it to 8 would be fine. Yeah. Yes, Ghost Warp. Thank you. Thank you, TS. So it looks like we are going to start Road 202 in here just for as much infinite damage as we can. We have a good wall set up. Road 202 cannot be killed. And we're just going to ability all the time. So that Vortex Charger or Vortex Channeler uh, is going to trigger next turn, getting a combo in hand. Aggroll's sitting at a very nice hand size. But once again, Access Deny is able to Road 202 as much as he wants. Just going to store some Creebles under there. Seven cards left in deck. Still has more than Egg Rolls, but Egg Rolls has a lot of combos to play. So no, I got you, bud. I got you. Looking to see how many combos in the discard pile. With Access Deny finally got his deck working with the Road 202 behind Obfuscation. It's now a matter of how can Egg Rolls compete with the damage output. You think 8 is too low? I do think that if you put it down to 8, it would mean there would only be one viable way to play Magrock. Um, and it wouldn't open up for a whole lot of deck opportunities for the hero. because you would have to play a lot of these just micro damaging things. Um, yes, it's really good at 10 with that same archetype, but at least at 10, you can play a different style with him. You can play the Abyss package, you can play Road 202, you can do a lot of things. Putting it down to 8 means that there's probably only going to be one way to play him, which really kind of limits his archetype down. Which is why my personal, like, I like the fact that it only triggers once a turn and heals for 3. Really means that he doesn't get as much value out of these cards, which means that, yeah, they're still good. They'll heal for 3 if they do their damage, but it's not the only way to play Magrock now. It's his ability is not controlling uh, his archetype that he wants to play. It's now opened up like, okay, well, now I can actually build a deck that I thought was going to be fun now that it's not solely based around Magrock's ability. Cold Snap is going to try and remove anything that it can. The Unruly Mob and the Mountain Fort are going to go. Four cards under, looking for a 13 damage. Well, we're not going to Road 202. We're going to Tainted Miasma. If we bring 2 poison cards back, we can Poison Spray. Putting a Conclave Spy out first means that our Mountain Fort is going to come back if we get anything removed. Dealing the Road 202 puts the turret online. I think that's what Axis Deny is worrying about. Is if that turret gets online, that's a lot of damage that he can't stop with his essentially wall gone. He doesn't have Mountain Forts. He doesn't have Steadfast Beacons. He doesn't have the Unruly Mobs. There's a lot of things that Axis Deny now does not have access to for Magrock's ability. And the only thing that's keeping him in there is the Inertia Sentinel. And if that turret gets online, that's a huge thing to pressure for egg rolls. That Epic Banquet might be viable here to bring back those Unruly Mobs. As I believe, yeah, 2 of the 3 are in there. The other one must be underneath the Road 202. So if we use the Road 202 and get the Unruly Mob, there's only 2 Creebles in his discard pile. So Epic Banquet would not have the most value, but it still does bring cards back. Necro Dreadling does the same thing. Could bring back his Steadfast Beacons. There's a lot of things that he wants to do before he starts applying more pressure with that turret being active. And it looks like he does want to bring back his Steadfast Beacons, I would assume. Probably the poison card, so his Poison Spray can be active. Another Portavolter coming down. Eggroll's just playing the very slow game, very methodical game, realizing that attacks are not how to kill Magrock. It's your buff damage that's going to do it. And with that burn card on top, that Conclave Spy is a dead card in the water. Saying it's now time to do that 13 damage. Put that Unruly Mob back in. Yes, we are going to see a Cold Snap come down. We do have to remember that as well. Eggroll's now starting to use his defensive cards, his healing. Well, exactly, because the reason this is surviving so long is because all the damage is coming from attacks, and all the buffs when you get attacked deal the ping damage, which keeps Magrock alive. Buffs get through this thing every single time. We're gonna road 202, put some Creebles back under, draw a card. Now, mind you, the turret is still online. Laying another Conclave Spy. Probably at this point he's laying cards so he doesn't end up drawing, realizing their decks are very low, and he doesn't want to get to the deck out situation. Eggroll's still wondering what the best play here is. He does have 5 damage coming through next turn uninterrupted. Vortex Charger comes down. Still holding on to that last Shadow Puppet. Now could be the best turn to do it. Preventing 5 damage. And anything else that can come through. Looks like we are going to defend. Put 2 more Creebles under there. Having Road 202 hit for 13 next turn. And a Shadow Puppet. I would guess. Eggroll's realizing he's going to go down to essentially 1 health next turn just from the Road 202. However, we could see a Poison Spray come down, 8 damage, preventing him from healing. and then the Road 202 finishes him off. I believe all the bubble fishes are gone. Vitalizing Frog. And there's a 13 damage. Three cards left in the deck. We could see the Hexer come down. Looks like we are just going to pass, though. I mean, we still have game 3 in this, and then we still have OFC's games and Rockets games. So there's still a few more to go through today. Cold Snap is going to come through, going back up to 12. Egg Rolls is at 6, but we do have the Poison Spray, which is going to kill the game out. And that is game 2, which, yes, did take a very long time. But Road 202 doing its thing, showing its dominance. We do have game 3, but after that match, I got to use the restroom, guys. I apologize. That was a long game. Great game. Very methodical. Very well played by both. But yeah, I got to use the bathroom, so I'll be right back. All right, now we're back. I really need a new mic. I really do. Mantic's Hatchlings into the Solar War. Great. Solar War is just such a good card for card draw for nature. It's so good. Whenever your opponent deals damage to you, you draw a card. Whenever you deal damage to yourself, you draw a card. Now we're hovering over Vine Lash, but we cannot lay it. So I think either pass drawing or the Bramble Spike Caretaker. We are just going to pass draw here. Pick up a Stumpdrift Shaman. Not a bad draw. It is going to get full value if we go ahead and lay that for 7 healing over 3 turns. However, yeah, we do have the Reckless Spirit for a Thunderslug if needed. But just getting a lot of damage out here. And it looks like we're going to Caretaker in a Resourceful Sipid. That card has been an all-star in this Green Sprout deck from Access. Spirit Mob going to come out and hit for 6. Egg Rolls realizing this game is not going to go like last game. We are going to see a lot of damage output from this nature deck. Thunderslug is going to come down. Kill that Sipid. And I guess it really all depends on if we want to keep those Mantic's Hatchlings out. Because that's the only buff it's going to remove now. And there is a lot of other threats against that Egg Rolls Storm deck. But it looks like we are going to Reckless Spirit, kill the Thunderslug, and lay the Moss Ridge Defender. We're going to let that Mantic's Hatchlings just do its work, prevent any damage that can come through from turning it. There's a Bubblefish. Because we saw from last game, we have Puddle Volters, we have the Vortex Charger, or Vortex Channelers. There's a lot of other buffs in there that are potentially more viable to remove outside of the Thunderslug, and keeping those Mantic's Hatchlings might not have been that important. We'll see how they work in the long run. Because right now, that Bubblefish is preventing a lot of damage and hindering him. Both players are just drawing, getting their resources back up. We do have Territorial Dominance. We have Vine Lash. We have a lot of things here for just some nice lethal damage. And Broken Dam is going to be played into the Vortex Charger. So Territorial Dominance is not going to be a 14 damage buff or combo anymore. However, Vine Lash will be. If we decide to lay Vine Lash now, there's a lot of other options we could do as well. The Mossfoot Shimmer Riders, our opponent does... Well, he has 7 cards in hand, so he has the option to draw. Mudturtle still hating on Slug. Still hating on Slug. Slug has its place, but it is definitely nowhere near as potent or powerful as the other 5. I will say that. There's another Thunder Slug coming down. Possibly the Shimmer Rider. Yep. There's an option. So Slug is going to remove both of those as there's no way to get rid of it now. His entire hand is buffs. He doesn't really want to do anything into that Thunder Slug. He's laying a Bane Bloom, which is very interesting. He might just want to draw a card or two. But that Slug is going to kill Bane Bloom right away. I might even kill the... It's not that bad. Bramble Spike Caretaker is probably going to move a buff into play, hopefully. Resourceful Sipit is a great one to pull here as we're getting 2 Reckless Spirits. Eggroll's looking for a combo now. A lot of very powerful combos in his 6 combo deck. We could look for a Storm Strike. We could look for a wow, the water one. It's 12 damage. Can't not think of it for some reason right now. We could look for a Crushing Rapids as we are going, or a Cold Snap as we're going into a very buff heavy nature style deck. Looks like he does pick up Cold Snap. Murky Waters, there it is. Thank you, TS. Eggroll's realizing that those 2 buffs on board are pretty strong to remove. That Resourceful Sipit is the big one to hit. Does he run Overload? I don't know. I don't know the deck list. Already giving him the good game. We do have enough for Territorial Dominance. We just have to hope that Eggroll's does not play a buff next turn. But it looks like we are going to Vicious Scalefang. Hope we draw an animal, which I believe is a Reckless Spirit next draw. So we do not get the second animal for Territorial. But we do have 2 Reckless Spirits for just 3 damage each. And there's the Crushing Rapids. Removing a lot of threats on board, a lot of damage potential. We could Bramble Spike again, try and get another buff into play. Getting that Vicious Scalefang, not bad. Next draw is our Vine Lash. We could potentially put in a Stumpdrift Shaman, draw the Vine Lash. Picking up that Crushing Rapids again. Great play by Eggroll's. Knowing that the buffs are very heavy in nature, anything that can remove buffs is great. Portable Turret going to come down. It is now online as he at 15. Could just pass draw. I might have actually laid the Stumpdrift Shaman there, giving myself a second buff. Because now Territorial Dominance only works if my opponent legitimately doesn't lay a single buff. And there's one buff. We could just Reckless Spirit it. And then perhaps pass. Maybe even Nally the Stump Drift Shaman. Make sure we have a second buff for Dominance. Although, with Vicious Scale Fang going off, bringing your opponent down to 8, the Dominance is still going to be lethal next turn if he doesn't heal. There's the healing. So now all it comes down to if he lays a buff. Does Egg Rolls lay a buff? He does not, which means this game is going to go to access with exact lethal. Great game with an aggro nature deck. Very tempo oriented. No gimmick, no nothing, just solid gameplay. Very well done. I don't know why I'm so tired. Like, I'm not tired, I'm just yawning. I don't know why. So people, there's a discussion here. Let's jump here so we can talk about the discussion that's being had. So the discussion is essentially, why not just make Thunderslug a attack with the condition to move a combo back from your hand to make it a 2 buff removal. That, I mean, in my opinion, Thunderslug, like I said, Thunderslug is fine as a buff. It is fine as a buff as it is. What's making it so good in a lot of cases, and when you can run the action card, let's see if I can find this card. Yeah, I did just watch a 45-minute card. Yeah, it's true. That's very true. Where is it? If you run Weaving Mistral in a deck with Thunderslugs, and obviously superiority in air, then Thunderslug becomes a powerhouse of a card. Then it's a powerhouse of a card. That's 3 buffs with 2 cards being gone, and deal 4 damage. That is huge. Like I said, there's ways to make Thunderslug like the best card in the game. And then there's ways where it has a drawback. Which is why I keep saying, and I hope someone from Play Fusion watches this, I keep saying that with the keyword restricted, it now opens up viable opportunities to add other buff removal into the deck styles, into making the way you run your removal different and unique to its own style of deck. Because yeah, if you run Thunderslug and you run Weaving Mistral, that's so good. That's so good. But without it, yeah, it's okay if your opponent doesn't have a buff removal to kill it. But if 3 cards or 3 buffs, 4 damage, that's so good. Well, you could say the same for every other buff removal that don't require air superiority. True. We're talking about the new errata? Yeah. I mean, so they obviously want to keep it a buff. They want to keep it a buff. There's obviously downsides. Yeah, it's a buff. You have to wait another turn to remove a second one. Your opponent can just remove it, and you don't get that other value. The other thing is, you can use your buff to bait their buff removal, and then have better buffs in turn. There's no advantage to waiting a turn now. So if your buff removal is being used on their buff removal, or if you're baiting their buff removal on yours, I mean, like I said, I'm trying really hard to understand the speculation. without also realizing that like the game is going to be completely changed. Being a buff has its ups and downs. Now being restricted to only 3 buff removals in a deck means that being a buff has its advantages, that it baits out your opponent's buff removal, in which means that they're not targeting the actual beneficial buffs in your deck. And I'm looking up because I'm trying not to also read chat to kind of mess my mind up on this, so I do apologize if I'm not answering anything right now. There's synergies to use with buffs in play. If they bring back cards like Exterior Defender to make it so that it cancels the next attack, Thunder Slug is good. Yeah, there's so many variables to tie into this of what makes it better or worse. Exterior Defender just needs to not exist. I mean, yeah. Then again, there's one that cancels the next Defend from the Chimchu family. It's essentially the same thing, just defense. No one has a problem with that card. No one has a problem with it. It's because of how potent attacks are, and because of buff removal only being attacks. If they split it with an even split, and each order, eventually down the line, if each order got a buff removal that's an attack, one that's a defense, and one that's a buff, if each order got one of each 3, if you want to balance buff removal, make them all the same attack with different conditions. I'm actually surprised that a few of them weren't made into defends. Like the one that heals your opponent for 2, Crystal Leech, I think. I'm surprised that wasn't made into a defense. So they can have, like I said, attack, defend, and buffs for all removal types. I'm more like there's so many options they can do to the cards right now, that it really all depends. Like they said, they have like the next 2 or 3 sets in line right now. They have 2 or 3 sets made. Wave 5 is coming out, which is like two sets or 2 blocks or whatever. Then they have more beyond that they're already working on. So I'm sure right now, since they already have that much in the future made, the cards they're making and errating and changing are also being controlled a little bit by what the future has to hold as well. By the sets, thank you. Having one stick out as buff, I think, is dumb. Like I said, they could have easily just made 1 defend, 1 buff, and the other 4 attacks, and then down the road introduced others to the other alignments that were one of the other 2 that they didn't have. Thus making buff removal more sporadic, more different to each order. There's so many options they have access to right now that the game itself, it feels bad because there's not as many variants or as many types of control, or the buff removal seems really weird right now. The way Thunder Slug feels really bad. Yeah, I mean, because Gurgling Ooze shuts down Thunder Slug. Like I said, Mari Bard shuts down Thunder Slug. There's so many things that shut down a lot of buffs, and if we are going to a more buff-oriented thing, that could be bad. If they bring Exterior Defender back to cancel your next attack, all the attack buff removals are bad. there's so many workarounds in all of these decks that I do understand where you're coming from by saying make them all attacks and balance them out that way. But then that would mean if they're all balanced out that way, that the best way to play your control style is to run a card like Exterior Defender into your deck, and that really limits how control decks are made because you're always going to want to splash that one in to prevent your opponent from attacking and removing your buffs. That really the only answer to this to make them balanced is to give us a variety, is to not limit them down to only attacks or only buffs or whatever. It is to give us variety in how we choose our buff removal. That is the only way, in my opinion, how to, in the long run, balance out these buff removal cards, is to give us a variety of choices on how we play them and not just stick us with one option. That, I think, is what will balance out buff removal in the long run. Because, yeah, like I said, making them all attacks means that everyone knows, hey, he's running an attack card. So I got to find a way to stop attacks. I got to make my opponent not able to attack or only attack once a turn. Unruly Mob then becomes really potent, really strong. They have to open up the variety of how buff removal is played and how many different things they can make it into. That will help balance it out, and that will help make the tech cards like Exterior Defender, like the Chimshu Defender, like Unruly Mob, like all these things that limit what your opponent can do via attack, defend, and buff cards. Having those be not as potent of a control against certain archetypes will open the game up to a lot more variety in playstyle. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not going to be something that comes out with the new set, right? The new set is going to introduce 2 more buff removal for all the alignments of, defend, all the stuff like that. They're working on a change right now to make it so buff removal is controlled and tamed down. But I do feel like in the long run, that would be their best option to do. To, like I said, not only to open up play styles where it's like, hey, if you want to play Storm and you don't want to splash anything in, you're running Thunder Slugs. I don't care what you say, you're running Thunder Slugs. That really is when it starts narrowing down your field of play, of whether or not like you wanted to maybe run a Defend that would do something better if you were a superior in another element. And it's all opened up because of that restricted word. They're giving all the combos that remove stuff burn as well, so your combos could now be dictated towards more control that way. But it also opens up the fact that it's simple that with these sets and the rotation style they're doing, all these removal being attack, defend, and whatnot, this is where it starts coming into don't put all 3 types of removal into the base set. You do want a variety of how your buff removal is being implemented, but you don't want to have all 3 options always viable. I do think there should be one for each set that is in the core. They can decide which ones they want to do eventually. Best option is to make, like I said, 2 of them be attack, 2 of them be defend, 2 of them be buff, to kind of even it out the way the playstyle is. And then in each set, give us a variety or a different way the buff removal acts to help certain archetypes. The one I told before to kind of rework Bombling, the attack that removes a buff of your opponent, and then you can remove one of your own to remove another buff, that shouldn't be part of the core, since that one strictly helps a certain archetype. That one should be in one of the rotating sets. It's a different way to play control. It helps that archetype work better, but then after that card rotates out, maybe that archetype isn't viable anymore or isn't as strong as it was, and it opens up different venues for other playstyles to work in tech. So they should open up deck or buff removals options to limit us less, but they shouldn't put them all in the core set because that would defeat the purpose of rotation. In a lot of other card games, they don't always put like, hey, Assassinate from Magic the Gathering is always going to be a core set card. It's like, no, that really just staples of what Black does. You want to put that into a rotation set, so every once in a while, Black's control is really good. Other sets it's not. They even do that in Hearthstone. they don't put all of the control or all of the certain cards in the core, and then just have like tech options open up to the course to the main sets. The main set should be the core of the deck of what the archetype works for, and then the base set is just kind of like mediocre base cards that can help those archetypes in certain ways, but otherwise it's just, you know, a way to establish the class. So in the long run, to summarize my point here, in the long run, the only way to truly balance buff removal throughout all the classes is to make different ones so that we're not just limited to the one card and looking at that one card being like, if this is my only option, this is terrible compared to nature's option. Give us more options on how buff removal works, and that will start opening up a vast variety of playstyles, I think. Because that is the one thing that is really holding the game back, is the limitations on how buff removal works and what we're all allowed to use as buff removal. Giving us more options in that grand aspect really opens up, hey, you know, he's running a storm deck, but he's running the new defend removal, which means that Gurgling Ooze is no longer going to be good against it, which means I have to start doing something else. Unruly Mob is no longer good against it, which means I have to do something else. I have to prevent defends now. It really starts mixing up the deck creation card pool, and really starts people thinking about which cards are better than others in certain sets. And it is all because of there's only one buff removal per alignment. Give us more to work with, and the game will explode in variety. I think, in my opinion, I think that'll really help. Is giving us a variety of buff removal to use now that you have the restricted keyword will help open up the game as a whole. I really do. We are on to Rocket Stars game. So let's jump into this. He said he forgot to record the first few minutes against it, which is fine. Cecilia did not upload her videos, it doesn't look like, so we can't see what her hand is. But she's also hosting a tournament right now in Frogtown, so I can't really expect her to do anything about that. So let's jump into this game with Rocketstar and Cecilia and see what we have here for week 6. It's very loud. There we go. The new card Flaming Zombie being used with a Charco Knight. I like it. Flaming Zombie is one of those cards that I was kind of like meh on. I feel like there is going to be a viable way to have him in the game, or a fun archetype to run with. But right now I'm just like, it's a fire buff, an undead fire buff, be that I think at least should have one more open corner. If it's going to have something where if your opponent removes it, draw a card. Fire Death Crystal Mythic. Is that coming? Is that coming? That would be so cool. Shrine of Death, Prism Cannon, Flame Fist Umbron. Yeah. See, that would be really cool. That would be really cool. You're unsure if you want it? For all we know, all those cards are being reworked. Prism Cannon is just going to look like Mage Ship now? I don't know. But that sounds really awesome. Just go ahead and build that deck, but splash death into it and see what you get. Shrine is the same? Mausoleum is staying the same? Have these all been confirmed by Benny? This stuff that he's been saying in chat and I've been missing everything? I figured Benny would always do that to me. So it looks like we're going to rotate the roaming zombie forward one. Draw a card, take 2, of course. Oh, the roaming zombie because he healed, so he drew another card. That's interesting. Cecilia playing a very powerful undead buff, or undead deck. Actually spinning that forward, healing for 4, dealing another 2 to Rocket Star because he drew a card. Actually 3, yeah. Very interesting plays with that roaming zombie. I like it. There's a lot more interactions with a lot of these cards. Now we're going to play Rock Melter here. Removing that. Dealing and healing 1. Five damage. I can imagine the zombie, the whatever that one is going. I can't. The Lurking Horror. Wow. I'm really bad with names, guys. I'm really bad with names. Just gonna. I cannot say that enough. Crystal Leech comes out. Wasn't worth removing that flaming. I mean, if she was able to heal herself again, that's more card draw. I guess, well, the roaming zombie was rotating out. The damage may have been. Mountain Fort coming through. Swift Pyre for another fire buff that's going to get removed and draw a card. Just trying to keep the constant pressure on Cecilia. Picking up an Inferno. Getting the 5 damage through there. Killing off the roaming zombie. Putting her at 10 so that Inferno is lethal. So Cecilia needs to put a wall of bones down. She needs to heal in some sort of way. With that Devour Soul, that's a great move. What did I say? I called it a zombie, didn't I? It's a Shambler. Gonna put down the Draga Scorcher. Roaming's out. Yeah. Yeah. There's the Wall of Bones. With the Corrupted Spirit, draw a card. Her hand size is minimal, but Rocket Star's health is pretty low. Going down to 14 with that. Boulder Feast being played. We could see a Flaming Zombie being put down right now. Looks like we are. It's going to heal 1. Covetous Shade coming down. Really good to use with the Talia ability to rotate that forward to get that maximum value on turn 2. Could be a good Crystal Leech turn, however. Really set back Cecilia. That is exactly what's going to happen. Three cards in hand. Gotta be thinking about little defensive right now. Another Bone Reaper. Could spin it forward. Exactly what she's going to do. Apply that pressure, get that 8-point swing. Get it in, especially before the Flaming Zombie allows him to heal over Cecilia's... allow Rocket Star to draw over the healing Cecilia. Picking up that Molten Fist actually opens up a lot of avenues now. We can start using our fire cards more offensively, knowing that we have the payment for Inferno right in our hand. So we could see a Flame Bat and a Swift Pyre next turn. We could see a Magma Worm come down. A lot of avenues open up here Not actually removing it. Now we're probably going to remove it? Still no. Interesting. Oh, because Flaming Zombie still draws whenever they heal. So he probably wants to stick that out there in hopes that Cecilia is going to heal. In which case he's getting a card draw off of it. If not, Inferno is still lethal. Very nice plays. And Inferno's going to come down and cinch this one for Rocket Star. Very nicely done. Very well played, sir. Like I said, I don't play that card a lot, so I forgot that it also worked on the fourth corner. Very nice game, sir. On to the next one we have going here. Looks like it's Jolty versus Luna? Lucera. Tuskar Lucera. That's it. With once again the Starforged Tusker into the 4 damage ability trigger. Very nice, just consistent damage here. We do have Jolty, which has got a built-in Crystal Core. Cecilia worked her way around that limitation here. Gonna do 7 damage, starting off really strong into an additional action. Starhorn Tusker is that action. Draw for the combo. We started off very potent. Now Rocket Star, all he has to do is ability trigger for 4, draw a card, get Cecilia down, make her have to play on the defensive. But it looks like she's also going very offensive on this match as well. 6 damage right off the bat. Rocket Star feeling pretty good about this matchup. He does have the Wandering Starformer in case he gets low to 4 damage and draw a card. That Astral Priest is nice if we can find a Lunar. Storm Strike. Cecilia once again trying to keep pace with this very constant 4 damage from Rocket Star. Moves a Chain Lightning to her hand. You can only imagine that she's got the payment for that as well. She does have a Crystal Core activated for Storm Strike, but now that Chain Lightning is not going to have the full 11 damage value as Storm Strike did not go to the top of the discard pile. So we are going to Wandering Starformer here. 6 damage, draw a card. We could just pass. Realizing that Rocket Star could have put her at 6 if he used the ability first. Maybe we're passing now, hoping to find some sort of healing. We do pick up the Moonlight Burrower, which will then activate the Astral Priest. Getting that Dusk Beat is really potent here, as it is nice, big, strong healing against Cecilia's massively aggro Storm style. Priest is going to come down. No, these are recaps from the games over the previous week. All these can be found on YouTube, actually. Rocket Star trying to find a way to get past that Crystal Core that Cecilia has essentially equipped. Knowing that she's got another combo in hand, can easily equip another one if he doesn't do it all in one turn. So we are probably going to see a pass here. Nothing really needed to happen. Title shift with the black hole. That is now online if it needs to be, but it doesn't look like Cecilia is running a whole lot of buffs in her aggro Storm deck. So we might just see a title shift being played. Very good opportunity with that encrusted shield. Colossi Gateway being played there. However, the Pathfinder is going to find a nice home in this if she decides to do it. There's not a whole lot of elementals to be played, but that does not mean she doesn't have to play one next turn in the form of a Spark Wisp. Looks like Rocketstar is running a little low on offensive pressure outside of his ability. That Chimchu Infiltrator could be nice to bring back that Starhorn Tusker. To then get that 4 damage continuation back on. So we could see something along the lines of Twilight Oracle into Chimchu Infiltrator to get that Starhorn Tusker back. Looks like we're going to see a title shift, though. Bova, thank you. The support is much appreciated. So now the title shift is on top. We do have the Chimchu Infiltrator once again, looking for that Starhorn Tusker, which could get us what we need. Access! Hey, welcome! We just actually reviewed your games. Very nicely done. So Chimchu Infiltrator, like I said, brings back the Starhorn. We don't really need a Pathfinder now, as there's only one elemental in Cassilia's discard pile. But that does not mean that it could not potentially be more threatening. So we did. That'll work. I was going to say, we did lose access to the Lunar, which means we'll have to play another one, which we did do with the Twilight Oracle, giving us access again to the Chimchu Infiltrator. Rocketstar playing this at his own pace, not really needing to rush into anything. Playing the nice consistent, I'll keep myself above 20. I don't know how Bursty Storm is as of yet. Her hand size is pretty big. Let's just play a little cautious. And once I do bring back Starhorn Tusker, that does limit my playstyle again, as if I do have to switch up for my abilities for damage, I'll have to wait before I can really put on the pressure. Tusker does get dropped. I might have militanted there for 5 damage, bringing him down to 5. Starhorn Tusker would have then done the 2 damage next turn, and it would have popped the core, making them have to access a combo, which would limit their turns dramatically, meaning that my ability then would trigger the combo again, and then I have Wandering Starformer. So the line of play here was a little weird to me, but we'll see if it all pans out here, if you can still win it in the long run. I think Doom missing that turn and popping the core 1 turn earlier would have been really more beneficial here. We could Wandering Starformer. Looks like we're going to Blinding Beetle, though. We do have, like I said, the Militant into the Starformer next turn, which is lethal. It all depends on if Cassilia has any healing in her hand. If she's got a thing like Vitalizing Frog, if she's got a Bubblefish, if she has running access to Crystal, if she's running Crystal Bats. There's a whole lot of things right now that could just heal her above that 4 mark. That is what is essentially holding her back from dying next turn. She lays a Spark Wisp. And it looks like she's going to Colossi Gateway her elementals back. And that is going to do it. That is actually going to be lethal for Rocketstar. With the Militant popping the Jolty Core and the Starformer for the 4 damage lethal. Very well played. I'm not sure, obviously not knowing if she had any healing in her hand, if popping the core 1 turn earlier would have helped or mattered all that much. I was thinking it is more of the limiting what she had to do on that turn. It was obviously laying another combo. Could have been a healing combo. For all I know, could have been a Crushing Rapids. Anything to heal herself back up along with applying the core. The only one we knew for sure she had in her hand was the Chain Lightning. And of course, the Chain Lightning would have been an 11 damage swing with the combo on top. But that still wouldn't have killed Rocketstar and still allowed him to push through lethal next turn. So there was several plays that he could have taken at that point in time. But all in all, pulled out the win against Cecilia. Very good game. OFC here. Versus what looks like egg rolls, if I'm not mistaken. It is egg rolls. Okay, so we'll have access to this game. OFC with his Vandal deck that runs the Lush Lost Behemoth for amazing spike damage. Especially getting those in there with the Icona Oracles, restarting those as your opponent draws cards. But the Icona Oracles restarting those very strong buffs. Very cool to see. Lush Lost Explorer not finding anything. Cool to see Sky Slayer still a thing. It's always still a thing, man. The game hasn't changed too much. Come October, the game is getting entirely revamped. There's going to be over 450 erratas and a new set coming out. So there's like 600 plus new cards to this game. It's going to be like an entirely different game, in my opinion. Might be worth coming to check out, Boba. Might be worth coming to Jack to check out. Twilight Oracle into another Twilight Oracle. That is a shame. But with egg rolls, this might just be a standard attack and defend Astral style deck. The Pathfinders are not going to find too much of a home here. We are still looking for that bow to equip the animal. I'm playing D&D like 4 days a week. Living the dream, man. You are living the dream. Blinding Beetle, seeing if he can possibly move a Pathfinder back before we start doing anything buff-wise. But with no buffs in hand, maybe he's hoping to find just a Chimchu Militant or anything to stop the aggression that Egg Rolls is putting down. Infiltrator, not a bad pickup from OFC here. Still looking for some of those buffs, or at least that animal bow to equip. He is more than okay tossing those back, as Egg Rolls probably doesn't have any buffs. And drawing Archaeologist is more important than playing an Archaeologist. Infiltrator's going to come back. Picking up that Blinding Beetle again. Slowing down Egg Rolls' aggression. Making him have a few dead turns. Pathfinder and Sunstrike. The Pathfinder, for all we know, Egg Rolls has got to know that with Sky Slayer, there's got to be some buffs to look out for soon. So tossing the Pathfinder is probably not the most instant one to get rid of. But right now, OFC just does not have access to anything to put on the board and be offensive right now. Still no buffs. That Ice by the Mystic looking for an Astronomer to put down. We're looking for the bow still, so we're looking for the Blacksmith. A lot of things that OFC just does not have access to yet. Could see another pass draw here as there's nothing advantageous to do. Another Blinding Beetle, really slow down Egg Rolls as we bide our time for our key cards in this deck. Midnight Bloom, a dead card until we get our item. However, with Egg Rolls being constantly set back turn after turn, OFC is staying in this by stalling. There's a Dawnstalker. We do have the Moonlight Burrower to bring it down. So the Dawnstalker is going to be played now. Still looking for other things. We have a Starhorn Tusker, which is probably laid as soon as for a Lush Lost Behemoth big swing turn. Turret being equipped by Egg Rolls. Access to Explosive now as well. Looks like we are going to Gravity Bubble. Spin Dawnstalker forward. And then restart it. Now with Lunar on top, Ice by the Mystic does make that a 10 damage. However, that's all it really will do. We have another Dawnstalker. So if we time it right, we could, not next turn, but the turn after, lay another Dawnstalker, have the first one swing for 10, Ice Feather Mystic then swings for another 10. There's the Pathfinder on that. Scratch that idea entirely. We might still be just trying to look for our item now. We have a little bit of healing coming from egg rolls. Once again, no buffs being played by him, as this is most likely a buffless aggro-style deck. There is our bow. That is going to give us major access to our huge Lush-Lost Behemoth. The Ashwood Nurturer could search for Dawnstalkers now as well, giving us access to Moonlight Burrower's ability to search for to get a free action. A whole lot of things are now opened up now that we have our Eagle Beak bow. Infiltrator bringing back that Starformer. OFC has a choice to equip the bow now or just pass draw. No real reason to show what he has. We also might be looking for a blacksmith to equip it for free, so we can have a really good turn. Picking up that Blinding Beetle was really nice, advantageously for healing, stalling our opponent just a little bit. I think OFC is waiting for a nice swing turn to equip that bow at the right time. Still looking for some other certain cards to work with it. A Blinding Beetle of its own. Archaeologist going back, that is A-okay with OFC. As Eggroll sees that, he's like, oh, that was really bad for me. Ashwood Nurturer, looking for a beast. Possibly we're looking for a Dawnstalker or a Moonlight or a Moonbeak. Or a Tusker. Getting that Tusker out, laying the Moonlight Burrower with a 3 action. Astronomer with those 3 Ice Feather Mystics. Very powerful. Aggro's only 5 cards in hand. Probably doesn't have the aggro pressure that he wishes he did with a lot of those Blinding Beetles being played on him. Might just pass draw here. He could also not see the potential threat that the Astronomer holds right now against Astral. He is just going to pass draw. See what we have going. Draw 4 cards, get an additional action because you drew this turn. Restarting it with Archaeologist. So many good things are happening for OFC right now. We are, however, trying to be a little more defensive. We are still below 20. Laying another Astronomer possibly gives the action to Pathfinder. Not good. Could just draw here. We have 2 more Astronomers to use to their full effect. Or 2 more Ice Feather Mystics to use on that Astronomer. With that much card value, unless Eggroll has a Crushing Charger in hand, that could just be way too much for OFC to not have exactly what he needs to finish this game off. Looks like we are going to play Enlightenment. Spin that forward, so we're drawing cards now. Now we'll draw 3 more. Getting a black hole in the first one. Very nice off of Enlightenment. It also costs for both of them 2 combos off that triggered both of the effects. That was just a really good Enlightenment. And then Planetary Alignment gets picked up as well. Chimchu Militant comes down. Possibly another aggro style thing. We're going to pass. We might just see a Lush-Lost Behemoth into a Moonbeak Corvid. A lot of things could happen right now. The aggro style this Vandal deck puts out is astronomically powerful. Could put a Tusker down as well to improve our damage for next turn. Looks like we are going to go with the Corvid. Duskkeeper's going to heal for 7. We're looking for a Pathfinder then. There's the Pathfinder. Bova coming in with the best puns in the world. So here comes the Lush Lost Behemoth after Pathfinder is used into the Starhorn Tusker play. That'll represent 15 damage on the buff alone. Plus 14 from Planetary Alignment if it's able to go off. There's a damage prevention from the Moonlight Drifter. Don't want to do anything this turn then. With that Starhorn Tusker on top, we might just go ahead and pass. We could lay an Astronomer just to get something on board. We really don't want anything to go in our discard pile right now. That's the big drawback that we're looking at. Because we want that that Tusker. Looks like we are going to Pathfinder it. Well, we were going to mill with the Drifter anyway, so that's probably the best play to do. And with an Oracle on top. We are still going to put out quite a bit of damage from this Tusker. Infiltrator coming down, most likely looking for a Pathfinder. There it is. Double access to gravity means we can kill that Tusker off right now, which is exactly what's going to happen. I think we're looking for another Astronomer, Ice Feather Mystic turn. Draw cards, looking for more of our animal cards. OFC's still looking for those big swing turns while Eggrols is just trying to find damage to push through. Looking to see what he has, if it's worth it to Planetary Alignment here, possibly. Looks like he is going to do that over the Mystic turn. 12 damage, draw 4 cards. Restarting Astronomer. So our entire deck is in our hand now. However, we don't have a lot more potential threats outside of maybe a Moonbeat Corvid. Our only combo that we have left is Black Hole and Midnight Bloom, and I think we're out of animal cards, so there's no way we can even use Midnight Bloom. If I'm not mistaken. Gonna do 3 damage. 3 healing, 4 damage, 4 healing. Just try and get as much damage potential on board as possible. We're going to have to lay Dawnstalker next turn. With the Moonbeak on top of Lunar. There's the Dawnstalker. I'm trying to think if he has any other Lunar cards to even play. He can obviously use Black Hole with the Moon, the Midnight. And deal 6. He potentially has lethal here if that Dawnstalker is not removed. Because he can still lay Black Hole. But if it's removed, I don't believe he has the Lunar or the Solar to pull off the second Dawnstalker. Reality Rift, yes, he already used that. He's used Reality Rift, Planetary Alignment, and Enlightenment. So his only other combos are Black Hole and the Midnight Bloom. But now that black hole is not going to find lethal, as Egg Rolls did just heal back up. Picks up the Pathfinder as well. And yes, his only shot here is to black hole for 6, Dawnstalker. It's true, the Yukona, he could draw the Yukona Archaeologist. Restart the Dawnstalker. But if he does that, there's no Lunar on top because the Astronomer goes away. I guess we still have Starforged Wanderer. It all depends on how much healing Egg Rolls has now. Because we do have the Yukona, we do have the Wanderer, and we do have an Ice Feather Mystic for that second Dawnstalker. But with 2 Twilight Oracles, I think he has enough healing to last all the healing. He also does have his bow. I forgot that the bow does have attack options, so potentially we have enough damage. It just depends on if we can survive long enough for OFC to get past Egg Rolls' turret, which is going to be doing the same thing. And now with the turret offline, it could just be down to OFC needing to use that bow. And Planetary Alignment comes in for lethal. That will be the game. On to game 2. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to use that music, so I will mute that. But very close game, OFC. Very close. I think you were maybe one or two turns away. But yeah, you ran out of threats. He controlled you at all times. Living Clouds with Egg Rolls as Party Planner Nishi. Along with a Blacksmith, possibly equipping a turret. Look at that. No one is surprised there. OFC still sticking with Sky Slayer as we see the Astronomer and the Ice Feather Mystic all in hand at once. Starting off with a very powerful opener to fill our hand up and really just flood our hand with viable cards. Umbron Barkeep needing to draw, obviously for buffless aggro. Not bad to have those drawing. Looks like we are going to see some... no, yes, we saw this before. There are some buffs in this deck. Drawing 4 cards. Did not hit the Archaeologist, unfortunately. But putting down another Astronomer. Just trying to get as much card draw value as possible. We could Planetary Alignment next turn. Spin that Astronomer forward. Draw more cards. We could Enlightenment, do the same thing. Looks like that's exactly what we're going to do. Draw 7 cards next turn. Or this turn, sorry. Actually 8, because Enlightenment is a combo itself. Gravity Bubble, getting both triggers off that. And then the 8th one for the combo. Huge hand size for OFC. Picking up the Mystic now that both Astronomers are gone. However, we do have a Tantosian Blacksmith in hand, which means we get to put our animal item on for free. Really not holding anything back. Trying to be as quick as possible compared to last game where we were being very defensive at the beginning. Moonlight Burrower picks up a free Midnight Bloom. Dawnstalker, and I think he might be thinking about a Pathfinder here. But it looks like we're just going to pass. Egg Rolls realizing that next turn could be a huge swing on him. Also needs to lay a water card to restart that Volter. Vitalizing Frog will do it. Gets a nice heal. We could see either a Midnight Bloom or a Gravity Bubble in the case of OFC's next turn here. We might see the Midnight Bloom, as we do now realize there's not that many animal cards. So laying Midnight Bloom as soon as possible while we have the chance also gives us 2 additional actions to work with. So we are going to do 10 damage here. And remove that Puddle Vulture for anything else. We have 2 actions. Could lay a Moonbeak Corvid here, as it is going to get max value with that combo on top. And Icefy the Mystic is just going to spin it forward. Very good card synergies here. Next turn, with it being Lunar on top, we could just see a Planetary Alignment. Quick lethal out of this game. Egg Rolls needs to be defensive right now, as he is looking potentially at 22 damage next turn. There's a Bubblefish. That is only going to prevent 4 of it, I believe. That is still lethal, as 18 damage is going to come through from this. And a very quick outing for OFC. Very quick game compared to last one. That is how quick Sky Slayer can kill you. It comes out of nowhere to do over 20 damage in a turn. And now looks like it's Tempest versus Party Planner. And Tempest looks like a very aggressive style Tempest here. Laying the Tyrax, just getting the card draw in as much possible. Egg Rolls simply just needed to draw. Picking up a Bruiser. Blastproof Defender is not a bad one. It is card draw if your opponent starts to go attacking on you. Also cuts off the Living Cloud for 6. We are going to see a Puddle Vulture come down from Egg Rolls here. That Blast Field Battery could reset his hand. There's not a whole lot of threats right now. So that Blast Field Battery potentially could be exactly what he needed. Spins that Defender forward, which gets him closer to drawing a card. Gets to refill his hand size with massive threats with attack cards. Possibly even looking for a turret if he decides to go Explosive Superior in this. Egg Rolls is doing a little bit of healing, a little bit of dealing. We'll see what OFC has to offer now. We are just going to pass draw, looks like. There's the turret that I was assuming was in the deck. Egg Rolls probably not wanting to waste too much water cards, as that Puddle Vulture will be restarted next turn. Egg Rolls is going to equip his own turret. Both decks are being very aggressive right now. Chronomoth for a card draw. Gets the Time Shifter. Hammered on a Forcer, killing that Vulture before any other potential threat comes through. There's not a whole lot of buffs in his deck, so removing those ones are very crucial, as those are just consistent damage with how much water he has in the deck access to. We could see a Blast Field Battery next turn. Into the Time Shifter, into the... Well, actually, no, the Time Shifter wouldn't allow us to play it immediately. It would just look for the Blacksmith. Getting Cold Snap right away. So the Blast Field Battery is going to be played, which I thought might happen. Now we picked up another card. We could just put almost everything from our hand back. We don't need it all. The turret's going back, obviously, because we need to look for it with a Blacksmith. There's no reason in having it on our hand if we can equip it for free. Time Shifter's good for next turn if we don't draw the Blacksmith here. We can Time Shifter for the Blacksmith. We might just Chronomoth, draw a card. And that's exactly what we're going to do. One more damage from a Blast Spot would have put that turret online, which is not what we wanted for OFC. His deck does not look at it as a lot of healing. It has Ramparts and Defender, so it has defense. But I would assume he's running Tyrax Fixers in this deck as well. Bubblefish comes down. However, we are looking at our Hammer Down Enforcer. Mud Turtle with the unexpected Chronomoth lethal. Oh, I miss those days. There's the turret. Coming to play for free with the Time Shifter. Rampart's coming down as well. Both opponents being very defensive right now. Probably looking for ways to swing the game in their advantage from their combos. We might just see a pass draw here or a Tempest ability too. That Body Morph does not really feel in the hand like it needs to be there. I would probably just say pass. There's nothing a whole lot they need to do. Our hand is very defensive. We do not have a whole lot of attack opportunities out of this. We can now Chrono Dash. Chrono Dash, I believe, would bring us back maybe like 2 Chrono Moths. Putting that down, the Defender down, and maybe Tempest. Nope, we're just going to pass draw. So we got 2 Blast Spots in play. Neither opponent wants to trigger the other one's turret until they have enough damage to outpace them. So I have a feeling once the person has enough damage in their hand, we're going to see an all-out bloodbath. Next turn, depending on what happens, we could see a Tempest for the Chrono Dash to go back. Thunderslug is going to hit the board. The Defender's going. The Hammer Down Enforcer on that Slug is not really worth it. As there's no targets. However, because of that threat of it being there, Living Cloud is most likely going to be played next turn. Actually, Tempesting the Blast Spot away. Interesting. We did pick up the Overwhelming Blast and a little bit more firepower with Tyrax Mercenary. However, there's not a whole lot that he really wants to do. He might just pass here. C25 Combat Tech Warper does nothing. Burn cannot be returned to the hand. Time Shifter he most likely wants to save for a fixer in the deck. Mechanical Momentum can be played now with the Chrono Dash for an 8 damage swing into Overwhelming Blast next turn. There's the Living Cloud like we all assumed was coming. Egg Rolls now might decide to put on the pressure. We could see a Spark Wisp come down. Actually, no, because Lightning's not used. We could start seeing some explosive cards. We could start seeing some air elementals. The turret for OFC is now activated, however. And here comes a Mari Bard. Momentum is 9 damage. I thought it was 8. I guess it is 9. So Tyrax Fish are going to come down, healing for a little bit. No real reason to push any threat through. We might just pass. We could temp his ability as well. Returning the Mari Bard. Actually dealing any damage right now would put that cannon online. So right now, anything he does is just not worth it. Egg Rolls might have put the Mari Bard down in case we decide to Ramparts, making it so our defensive options were limited. Puddle Vulture coming out. Momentum coming down for a 9-point swing. Turret is online. However, Egg Rolls does probably have quite a few defensive cards in hand. Those Combat Tech Warpers against that Volter is a very good play. Just return it to the hand before it gets the best value. There's the healing. So the turret is no longer online. Both players getting very big swings from their 5 damaging cards and 6 healing cards. Agril's thinking about what he wants to do here. There's one more action to do. Is it worth it to put that turret online with an attack? Looks like he did opt for it. Putting him at 12, making OFC have to go a little bit more on the defense if he wants to live. He might even have lethal next turn with a 12 damage synergy between some cards. Looks like returning that Puddle Volter is exactly what he wants to do right now. Time Shifter for another fixer to heal back up to 19. So he's at 11. Egg Rolls is now on the defense now. Very good swing turns both these players are having. Overwhelming Blast is lethal next turn. So Egg Rolls needs to heal, needs to defend with a Bubble Fish, perhaps. And it looks like he's going to do just that. Shifting Winds is going to heal him for 5. Puts a nice combo down. Didn't want to risk that Storm Wall having an open turn next turn. Decided to heal was more valuable than the prevent my opponent from attacking. Egg Roll's deciding to remove that. Doesn't need 5 damage coming down. Especially with how many times he's brought him down to 12. Knowing that Egg Rolls probably has lethal at 12 damage, did not want to see that damage come through. Puddle Volter is going to sit down again. And that's lethal. Turret being online, Overwhelming Blast for 11 damage. Very back and forth game. Very methodical on how well it was being played, of when to activate the turret, when healing was needed to be done. Everything worked out very well in the end there for them. Great games to see from OFC and Egg Rolls. And on to our last matchup. We have Access Deny versus H-Man the Man. So Access Deny with his Sora deck. Very good deck. This Sora deck, now that I've seen it in play and see what it can do, very powerful. Very good use of its ability for some nice, really big swing turns. Going against Grimace, however, that Thunder Slug combo with Weaving Minstrel, very difficult to deal with, as you cannot remove more than 1 poison in a turn. So we'll see what actually happens here. So healing and maybe some card draw off of that. The Voltex Charger could be very useful here. Thunder Slug coming down. Next turn we could see a Vortex Charger being played, hoping the Thunder Slug gets to expire. H-Man just drawing, trying to find more resources, possibly knowing that having all these air buffs expire is really bad. So he could be looking for a Shadow Puppet, knowing that killing the buffs is the way to go here. Going to overextend a little bit, showing that he wants that to turn. I might have saved that till next turn. Not showing that hey, as soon as Thunderslug leaves, I'm getting a combo next turn. Because if he Shadow Puppets, all you got out of that was 4 damage. So it might have been a little overextended on Access part. He could have just drawn, got another resource in hand as well. But it did look like it paid out for him. H-Man does not have the Shadow Puppet in hand. Obviously, now he gets to put 2 combos in his hand. Maybe that was actually the smart play, because now he can play Shifting Winds for free or Rolling Thunder for free. Decides to pass draw. That's true. If he didn't do it, he wouldn't have got double value. High risk, high reward play. Looks like H-Man is just going full wide on board, taking full use of that Grimace action. Safety Crab into possibly Gust Frog. No. No, that would have been a wrong timing. Sorry. Of how the buffs rotate. That would have been the very bad timing. However, we can get Puddle Volter into a Gust Frog turn. We have all the stuff for the combos that we need to play here. Sora, definitely a very spiky deck. Looks like we are going to Gust Frog here. Into a Puddle Volter. Very nice synergistic plays there. Double the Puddle Volter. Gets to play a Shifting Winds next turn. H-Man's board just doing its thing. Running heavy with poison buffs that cannot be removed all at once. Shadow Puppet is going to remove some very powerful buffs here. Leaves the Puddle Volter on play. Did not want access to drawing and healing. And another Shade comes down. Very difficult board to deal with right now. And it looks like Shifting Winds is going to come into play here. Possibly hoping to draw anything on board as our hand size is getting down low where we don't have a whole lot of resources. We could Delivery Crab, draw a card. We could just pass draw. There's not a whole lot of things that we can do right now. Delivery Crab might be waiting to save for the Volter for the water to restart it. Pass drawing is just fine. We're picking up a Stormwall and another Vortex Charger. Vortex Charger into the Mari Bard synergy is going to be really nice. Actually, we could just charge her right now, because if Shifting Wind stays in play, that does count as an air buff. It doesn't say air action buff, right? It's just air buffs. So having the Shifting Winds come in, looks like we're not going to do that, however. We're going to draw 2 cards. Possibly a Stormwall. Many options? Probably wants to stop his card draw, which makes a lot of sense. And with the Mari Bard into Vortex synergy here. Once again, getting 2 combos into the hand. Very powerful. Grimace does not get to draw. He's got to look for a second Shadow Puppet. We're going to go with the Necro Juggling to heal. A lot of resources he could be bringing back right now. There's a lot of poison cards in his discard pile. But with that Maribard, unfortunately, Dread's board state is stuck in the water. Great decision to use that to draw 2 cards. Access Deny here, sitting with a very powerful board state that's going to go off in 1 turn. Decides to not do anything with the Shifting Winds. That Storm Wall coming down, preventing him from attacking. Very powerful. Cannot do a whole lot to answer this, as he's guaranteed to get 2 more combos next turn. And the 6 damage. Access Deny has set this beautifully up. An Umbron Terror Guard. That will take into effect next turn as the Maribard does go away. However, getting 2 combos. We could be looking for a Rolling Thunder. He is invulnerable to damage now. Playing that Delivery Crab would draw him, but he needs the water for Rolling Thunder. However... No, yeah, because the Overload... I mean, the Overload would be lethal in a turn or 2. There's our Sparkback Splasher. Very powerful card. H-Man still invulnerable to damage with that Umbron out. Great use on the Devour Soul, removing the Storm Wall, healing for 8. Possibly saving a Shadow Puppet for the Rolling Thunder he saw him pick up. Delivery Crab coming down. Could just be a passing turn. No real need to do anything. We can now Overload for a massive 14 damage, if I'm doing my math right. Terror Guard leaves play. Depending on what buffs he puts down, that Reflector could be huge next turn. Reflector into Sparkback so that it can't be removed. Still opening up lethal to Overload as well. Looks like we're just going to pass, however. So with H-Man taking 4 damage... I completely forgot that Necro is on the top. He's taking 5 damage next turn, making Overload lethal. Wall of Bones is not going to do it, unfortunately. And Access pulls out the win. Great deck build by Sora. Great explosive power. H-Man just not able to heal up or defend. The Umbron Terror Guard was a nice tech, but delaying the time was unfortunately not what you needed to do. The Devour Soul even healing for 8. Still just so much power this Sora deck has to dish out. Very powerful as we go into game 2 here. Access Deny using Green Sprout as H-Man, still sticking with Grimus. So we have a Lurking Horror down, which can only mean that H-Man has some fairly offensive cards in his hand to use with it. Monster's Defender is a great counter to it. Hatchlings comes down, really playing to his advantageous, I'm going to go aggro on you. He has a lot of powerful combos in his hand. We could just see a Beast Control come down. Especially now that a Shadow Puppet's been dropped. Beast Control does represent a massive amount of damage. Draga Hunter, a lot of cyclical damage coming through with that Lurking Horror and Draga Hunter synergy combos. But with a Beast Control looking at 21 damage over the next 3 turns, it all depends on how much H-Man can put out with 2 cards in his hand. Soul of War is an amazing pickup by Access, as he's going to be taking a lot of poke damage, meaning his hand is going to refill so rapidly. That's 2 draws a turn. Yes, he's taken a lot of damage, but with 7 damage being dished out, drawing 2 cards a turn off of Soul of War, I think Access is going to come back in this game in a big way. And I think H-Man really needs to find a second Shadow Puppet, or he's going to be feeding into a lot of value here. Taking 5 damage a turn. Access is going to go into 16. Picking up that Stump Drift Shaman, however, healing. Dealing 7 next turn, bringing H-Man down to 16. That Soul of War is going to make value so good for Access right now. Oh, with the Lurking Horror preventing healing. Too bad no Roaming Zombie. If only. If only H-Man ran Roaming Zombie. So we are going to take 3 damage here, but draw 2 cards off of it. We have 7 more damage coming through next turn. Spirit Mob, if no other buffs are played, is another 6. We're going to heal for 2. H-Man could just be out of resources right now. So we're going up to 10. We could decide to Bramble Spike Caretaker to heal for 3 and then deal 7. That might be the smart way to prevent any sort of surprise lethal. We are going to go down to 9 next turn before we heal for 4. Putting in a Stump Drift Shaman, it's 1 less healing, but it depends on what H-Man is running in his Dread deck. Burst of Venom could be lethal. Removing that poison buff for an additional 2. It looks like not. And it looks like Territorial Dominance is going to cinch this one up too. Oh no, we don't have access to Forest. We can't Dominance. We could Spirit Mob into Vicious Scalefang, however. Horrific Manifestation, there's another one, TS, thank you. There were a lot of options for H-Man to have lethal in that situation. Is it better to lay the Corvid or the Mossfoot? So H-Man just needs to heal for anything. With the Vicious Scalefang being 2 damage from hand. There's a Shadow Puppet, preventing a lot of damage coming through. We can Vicious Scalefang and Mossfoot Shimmer Rider put down as much damage as possible. Oh, Rocket, I was talking about for H-Man, how he could have taken the game from Access right now. And there's a Reckless Spirit in case anything happens. 5 damage sitting on the board. Wall of Bones would only prevent a minimal amount. You need Wall of Bones with the Shadow buff. Devour Soul. Great turnaround there. However, we can Bane Bloom now, which might be the play. Keeping Territorial Dominance in her hand, knowing that if we pick up any combos, being able to play something like that is very strong. Bramble Spike to put a buff into play. We're going to draw a card next turn. Corvid Shade, H-Man just trying to come back into this game. Assassin's Guild to draw 2 more. Just doing whatever we can right now. This game is very close. Access is looking for some more animal cards to be able to lay Territorial Dominance. There's one of them. We could just see a pass draw here. Resourceful Sipid means that we have to draw animal now. We do have a lot of animal in the deck, so the chances are pretty good. Unfortunately, we did not draw it. We can Caretaker to see what our next top 4 cards are next turn. We are drawing 2 as well, so the chances of us getting another animal card are very strong. It all depends on if H-Man is going to lay a buff here. Because we do need to have more buffs than our opponent, otherwise we're only doing 9 damage. But then again, if we do 9 with the 2, all we need is an animal card. So if we draw an animal card, the game is over. And there it is. Territorial Dominance for 14. Access giving him the good game. A very aggressive nature style deck. I like it. Overwhelming buffs on board. Very difficult to deal with. Very good game by Access Deny. Very good. Oh, those are some amazing games. Even the 45-minute one with the Road 202. I can see how it opened up a lot of controversy. To be like, is this just a stall deck? And it's like, no, it was trying to be based around a card that no one's ever used. And the only way to make it viable is to last it out, I guess. Great games to do. Great games to see. I'm going to take a quick break, grab a granola bar. When we come back, I think I have a deck from Bobby, a Gorehawk, the Chopper deck he wanted me to look at. TS just sent me a deck he wants me to deck doctor. So there are a few things we can do. When I come back, we will jump right into that. So hang on, guys. I'm going to get a granola bar, get something to eat, and we will jump right into this game. So hang on.